Hello demigods, welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we're going to be talking about Percy Jackson Season 2. That's right, baby, we're getting back to our roots. Yes, we've been doing a lot of videos about Bridgerton, and we're going to be doing a lot of videos about House of the Dragon, because contrary to popular belief, my channel doesn't just focus on one show. But whenever we do get Percy Jackson news, you better believe that I will be making a video about it, because I love Percy Jackson. And earlier this week, the Percy Jackson fandom got some pretty interesting news. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So pretty big news, the casting for Percy Jackson Season 2 is officially underway. The characters that they have shared that they are casting for are Tyson, Thalia, and shockingly, the biggest news is that they're casting for an original character named Allison. Now we are going to get into that in a second, but first let's talk about Tyson and Thalia. So for both Tyson and Thalia, they're looking for actors anywhere between the ages of 15 to 18, and they're looking at all ethnicities. In the casting call for Thalia, she's described as a recurring guest star in Season 2 with a potential for more in the future. Thalia is most likely being described as a guest star for Season 2 because she doesn't technically show up in Sea of Monsters until the end of the book, but they're probably going to include a lot of flashbacks with Thalia's characters, so she'll be recurring throughout the 8-episode season. And the statement of potential for more in future seasons comes from the fact that Percy Jackson isn't technically renewed for seasons 3 through 5, so they can't really promise a future role in those seasons because they're not renewed, but it's not a big deal. Don't worry about that wording. The biggest news that we got, though, is that Percy Jackson is going to be introducing an original character to the series, a demigod named Allison. Now, for the character of Allison, they're looking for actors between the ages of 18 to 22, so she's definitely going to be older than our campers. Allison is described as being a rogue demigod, and she is a part of Luke's army. She lives in the human world now, but she did attend Camp Half-Blood when she was younger, and Allison will also be considered a recurring guest star. Now, the addition of an original character is not something that I ever anticipated the Percy Jackson show doing. I don't know why, I just never even fathomed that they could or would do that. But the addition of an original character opens the show up to a world of possibilities. So let's break it down. For starters, if you ask my opinion on it, I actually think that this is a pretty smart idea. Sea of Monsters is the shortest Percy Jackson book, and to a lot of people, it's their least favorite Percy Jackson book. Guilty, I'm one of them. Sea of Monsters is probably my least favorite of the 5 original books. The addition of Allison most likely means that we're going to be spending a lot more time on Princess Andromeda with Luke and his army, which I think is going to be very beneficial to the show overall. Because to me, one of the downfalls of the Percy Jackson books and one of the benefits of the show is that it's not just in Percy's first-person perspective. In the books, we're only reading about what Percy knows and what Percy sees, but in the show, we can explore so much more. Especially when we're adapting books like Sea of Monsters and The Titan's Curse, when our main trio isn't together the entire time. The show gives us the opportunity to explore these other plot lines that aren't happening to Percy at the current moment. In Season 1 of Percy Jackson, Luke's whole villain reveal was very different from how it is in the book. And I've always said that it feels like they're going a much more compelling way with Luke's story in the show than they did in the book. The addition of the character of Allison means that we're probably just going to get to know Luke's army a lot more. We're going to get a real insight to all of them as characters, and we as the audience are probably going to understand their cause a lot more. So personally, I think if you can give any sort of complexity to the antagonist of your show, I find it beneficial. One of the flaws of Luke's whole storyline in the books is that his army is kind of nameless. We don't really know any of them except for Luke. So when you have to choose between Percy and rooting for Percy or rooting for Luke, you're obviously going to choose Percy because you know Percy, you know the people that he's surrounded by. We don't know anybody in Luke's army really, for the majority of the books. So adding a character that we're definitely going to get to know is going to be very interesting. Exploring the nuances of why certain campers join Luke's cause is something we don't really get in the books. So creating an original character to explore that, and not just an original character, but an older original character, is going to add layers to everything that's happening with Luke. Because it's one thing to be like a young camper, easily persuaded, but this Allison character is out of Camp Half-Blood. She's living in the regular world. She doesn't really need to get involved with this, but she does, and there's going to be a reason behind that, and I think that's going to be very interesting to explore. Like I said, in the books, none of the rogue demigods in Luke's army are like important or memorable. Besides Luke, maybe Ethan if you like squint. So I really just think that creating compelling characters that are a part of the antagonist group is going to do wonders for this show. Not to mention, it's going to help them expand on the screen time of the show, which I think is definitely needed when it comes to Sea of Monsters, because not a lot's going on in that book. Now, another reason they might be creating this original character is to hopefully erase that part in The Last Olympian where Luke is like, Annabeth, I love you. Ooh, because that was yikes. But I also think I would really prefer if they kept Luke and Allison platonic, because I don't really think that every male and female on screen need to have a romantic aspect to them. Regardless, if they do give Allison a romantic aspect when it comes to Luke, I hope that the first and most important thing behind her character is to add more depth to the Titan army, and then second can come any sort of romance with Luke, if that's what they're aiming for. What I'm very interested in finding out is who Allison's godly parent is going to be. Most of the rogue demigods in Luke's armies were children of minor gods, and that's a big part of the reason that they joined Luke's army in the first place. So she'll probably be a child of a minor god, which I think is going to be really interesting to like fully dive into and unpack, because the closest we really get to unpacking a child of a minor god is with Ethan, and that's really mostly in The Last Olympian. Like, we don't get a lot of it. So unpacking a child of a minor god this early on in the series I think would be really interesting. And if she's not a child of a minor god, I think it would be very fascinating to make Allison a child of Aphrodite, just because I feel like children of Aphrodite get kind of cheated out in the books, and I think it would be cool to them to have like another sort of badass character representing their family. So overall, I think the addition of this original character can either be really, really, really good or bad. It just depends on how the writers take care of her. I personally have loved most of the changes that the writer room has been making to the show, and considering that for me personally, Sea of Monsters is my least favorite Percy Jackson book, I am open to almost any and all changes that they want to make to it. Obviously, keep the structure of the book the same, but you can add stuff to it. Go ahead. And last thing I'll say about Allison, I think it's going to be really hard to like pass judgment, because obviously we don't know a lot about her character. We have no idea what the point of her character being added is. But I just think the concept of the show creating original characters that don't really affect the plot of the book at all, by the way. I just think the concept of them adding original characters is really fascinating. I didn't even think that was a possibility for the show, and the fact that it is just kind of a lot to wrap my head around. But as of right now, with the information I've been given, I think I like it. Subject to change. Subject to change depending on what they do with her, okay? She could be the most annoying character ever written into fiction, but I don't know that yet. So right now, I like it. So far, we don't have any updates on the casting of characters like Selena Beauregard, Charles Beckendorf, Chris and Connor Stoll. None of that. James Bobbin posted this photo on Instagram on June 7th saying back at camp, meaning some sort of production, I guess, has been underway for about a month now. But as we already know, filming doesn't start until August. So that means they have about a month left to sort of figure out the whole casting process and wrap it up. And although we just got the news of Tyson and Thalia and Allison being casted, that doesn't mean that they just started the casting. The casting has probably been going on for a long time now, and we're just now getting this information. But regardless, we have a little bit over a month until they start filming, and I can't wait. That does it for this short little update video on what we have going on over in the Percy Jackson world. Let me know what you guys think of the addition of an original character. I personally am very intrigued by it, but I'm curious to see what all of you think, because I've seen very mixed opinions on Twitter. And also I'm very excited to see who they cast as Tyson and who they cast as Thalia. If you have any fan cast that you want to share with me for those two characters, let me know in the comments down below as well. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube so you don't miss out on any other Percy Jackson updates, because trust me, if we get any news, you know where to come. We got this news a couple of days ago, and it's taken me a while to film this video because I'm in the process of moving, so my background might look a little bit different. But nonetheless, I am still here to update you regardless. So make sure you like this video and subscribe so you don't miss any other Percy Jackson updates. Make sure you follow me on all my other social medias. Check out my podcast that I have with my boyfriend. And check out my Patreon, where you can find my full reaction videos to Percy Jackson Season 1, along with commentary tracks I've done to Percy Jackson. I also do reaction videos and commentary tracks to a lot of other TV shows over there. And pretty soon, we are going to struggle through and watch the Percy Jackson movies together. So if you want to watch me painfully go through watching the Sea of Monsters movie, make sure you subscribe to my Patreon, because you definitely don't want to miss it. And you can also join my Patreon as a free member. Totally free, no money involved. You can just be a free member and get updates over there as well. So make sure you check it out. The link is in my description down below. It's a fun time. But that does it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye.